What's up, guys? It's Barrett Freeman here with Freeman Brothers Realty. We're doing another episode of the PropertyTales podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? I don't know.
As you guys know, we have a property management company, Freeman Brothers Properties. We buy apartments, we buy houses, we renovate them, we put renters in them. If you're looking to rent in the Eastern Kentucky area, go freemanbrothersproperties.com and take a look at all we have available. We also have Freeman Brothers Realty, so if you're looking to buy or sell anywhere in the state of Kentucky, give us a call. Our agents are waiting to serve you. So call us and we'll buy or sell, help you buy or sell. I've got our property manager, Thomas Bayliss. I call him our property manager, but he really manages all those different companies that I just talked to you about. And he makes sure that they all mesh well together, play nicely together, because they are each their own company, but all the companies work off each other so well that one company, if it's not doing well, can easily hurt the other companies. So anyway, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Anyway, how did you make it to Eastern Kentucky?
It's a little bit of a blur at this point. I get asked that, as you can imagine, a lot. Some people have asked if I'm from out of state before, which was always funny. But yeah, so I made it to southeastern Kentucky via Union College in Barberville. So if you guys aren't familiar, it's a little private school.
It's not even the only Union college in
No.
like 100 miles.
I know, there's so many, and they're all named the Bulldogs too.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so all named the Bulldogs. But yeah, so I was recruited back home in England to come over here and play soccer, catering to the crowd. I don't normally say
that
soccer.
didn't sound
but
good.
yeah, probably get some stick for that one. But yeah, so I came over here for college, played soccer, ended up meeting a girl. Those southeastern Kentucky girls will get you. And
Every single time. I married a girl from southeastern Kentucky.
There we go. And 10 years, well, how long have I been here now? It's 20. So I have been here nearly, 12 years, give or take.
I just had a funny thought. Obviously, people that rent from us, some of them will watch this.
Mm-hmm.
How many of them know what you look like?
Probably not many. Yeah, I don't know. Probably not
This might
many.
be the first time that people are putting a face to the name
Yeah,
and voice.
maybe. Well, hello. Yeah.
Hopefully you're happy with Thomas
Yeah,
generally.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people think that I'm not here, based here, but I almost certainly am. So.
They think we've hired some overseas company to.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
no, they bought me, package deal.
Yeah. So what was your path from college to getting into real estate with us?
Kind of a trip and fall, honestly. A very gracious fall, should I say. I actually worked for, obviously I was going through the green card process once I married my wife, Sarah. So we went through that process, and while I was doing that, I was working for a local electrician. So I kind of fell into the construction side, which actually gave me a really good base knowledge of kind of what it takes as far as that side goes.
Well, I mean, our technology is probably a little bit different than England.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, voltage, for instance, is I think it's half of what it is in England. So
Sounds safer.
I think it's 240 volt in England. So you don't just mess around with electric like you shouldn't do here, but you can.
Did you have that thing growing up in England where little kids would try to put utensils in the outlet?
Yeah, you're looking at one of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you survived.
It explains a few things. But yeah, so I worked for an electrician for 3 years, and then Barrett and Blake's cousin, Lance, I'm very good friends with. I got to know him through church, and if you know Lance, you either know him or you don't. There's no strangers with Lance Freeman. He's
all the Freemans are.
Yes,
that's true. We grab everyone around us and say, "Come on."
So
friends for life.
Yeah, there we go. So basically, he told, I think Blake or one of you reached out and said, "Hey, we're looking for a property manager. do you know of anyone? And Lance kind of threw my name in the hat, and it's kind of been a blur and a whirlwind since.
Well, Freeman Brothers, our first 2 years, we bought, I think, 15 houses. Not anything crazy, but then year 3 and 4, we really put the gas pedal down. We started the company in 2016. 2018, we remodeled our first apartment building in Corbin, the Midtown Apartments. It was basically, we bought these 2 buildings that were empty, 2-story empty, as basically storage space, and we shoved as many apartments in there as we could, a bunch of 1 bedrooms, a few 2 bedrooms, depending on the way it was laid out, and made sense. But so at that point, Blake and I are full-time lawyers that were trying to keep managing our own property, self-managed, but it just was impossible. And then my dad wanted to take a step back from all his property management, and he has 120 units. So Dad wanted Blake and I to start managing those on top of ours. It would have been impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, we're so busy with law.
Well, you were kind of doing it, weren't you?
No, I mean, we were self-managing.
Yeah,
It was killing me.
Yeah.
My phone was ringing 100 times a day. I'd miss calls on the phone with other people, and there's just no way to live.
Yeah.
And I couldn't practice law because people would hear, oh, the Barrett Freeman, the lawyer, has a bunch of houses and apartments for rent.
Yeah.
So my phone at my office was also ringing off the hook. We couldn't even get the law done. So it was a big problem. So we were like, we've got to move forward. We've got to hire somebody that just only focuses on property management. So Dad wanted someone in their 50s or 60s because that's his age. He thought that maybe we could find someone that he could trust and rely on. And Blake and I were in our late 20s at that point. And Blake and I were like, we can't, he's going to be our employee. We can't yell at him if he's 50 or 60. It's really hard, especially when we're in our 20s, if we had to. And we want somebody that was going to grow with our company. So you were, what, 25, 26 at the time?
Yeah.
So
around that age,
pretty
yeah.
close to our age. We interviewed 3 people. 2 of them were in their 50s. I'm probably admitting to to age discrimination.
Cut that part out. We'll get to the sex discrimination later.
Yeah, sex discrimination for sure. No. We would have loved to have a girl, obviously, but we weren't trying to have an extended hiring process. We met with 2 people before Thomas. Dad, Blake, and I sat down with Thomas, and it was like a 10-minute interview, just make sure that our interests were aligned, because my cousin Lance,
Yes.
recommended you very highly. So that's pretty much the only reference we needed.
I just remembered, which is funny, looking back now, probably I wouldn't have done it, but it was in November when you kind of we
Put feelers
met
out.
together. Yeah, at the law firm, and we were doing Movember mustaches, just how boys do. So I show up to the law firm, and all these guys are there, and I had just I was gonna say worst mustache, but it was a pretty good mustache. I mean,
It's
so
fine.
yeah, that was their first impression of
That
me.
could have been a bad first impression.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm the worst
We're
at
past it.
noticing facial haircuts. So yeah, it was a good crowd if you're gonna walk in with the dirtiest mustache. So you got lucky on that. But yeah, so we met with Thomas, and then we're like, can you start in January? So January 2018.
Yes, correct.
So what's sad is, maybe sad is not the right word, but we hired you to manage our tenants, manage if someone had a problem, like something breaks or something. Thomas would coordinate the maintenance. But pretty soon we were still buying all the time too.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden your portfolio of managed properties went from, I don't know, 120, 130 to 220, 230, really quickly. I don't know. How were there growing pains?
For sure, yeah. I mean, there was definitely growing pains. I mean, we all felt them. I felt the biggest thing that I had to learn was kind of not taking it home with me, because it is a 24-hour job essentially.
I struggle with that still.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a 24-hour. I mean, you've got you people are relying on you. I mean, you've got property, you've got issues popping up all the time. So you need to address them and be ready to address them whenever. And there was times when we didn't have the infrastructure that we do now, where the 3 of us basically had to be on day and night call.
Well,
that
we were
was something that
we're
stopped.
building a property management company from scratch.
Yeah, yeah.
Without knowing anything about property management.
Yes.
I think 6 months in, I was like, guys, we're probably doing this the stupidest way possible. So I just quick Googled. I was like, surely there's a convention we can go to. And immediately the first thing I typed in, I said property management convention, was North American Property Managers Association. I was like, and there was a convention like the month later. So we hopped on a plane to San Diego.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And it was so funny. They put us into small groups at the convention, and we were like, we know literally nothing.
No.
And no one there could believe how little we knew. We were asking the most basic questions about everything. First of all, we were handwriting everything, and we were using Excel spreadsheets. There's so much software out there that was free or very cheap. There were so many quick solutions to all the problems we had. We just didn't have any way of being exposed to it outside of, going to those conventions. And after that first convention, there were 50 things that we needed to immediately do, and we had to pick 3.
Yeah.
Because you get out there and you're just overwhelmed.
I don't give you credit for that, by the way. I think that was the catalyst of the property management kind of really taking off as far as solving problems.
Well, what we didn't really conceive of when we started doing managing my dad's properties and our properties is that we had started a company.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just like every company, we had money coming in, money coming out. How do you account for all that? Dealing with people and vendors and contractors and making sure we were making money.
Yeah.
It's hard to make money in real estate. And it quickly your job went from managing tenants, managing work orders, to basically being CEO of the property management side of things, because at a certain point it got so big that we had to hire employees, and it quickly grew to where we ended up having, if you count Virtually Incredible, who it's 4 or 5 dedicated people that answer just our leasing calls. And then we have Gyra now.
Yeah.
She's now what Tom was.
She's a superstar, by the way.
Yeah, Gyra.
Superstar.
I hope to meet her soon.
Yeah.
It's kind of bad, but try to meet all the employees when we can. But she's now doing what we hired you to do in 2018.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, she's a property manager through and through.
And so, and then what we did was we took our maintenance company and we spun it off, made a separate LLC, just for the protections, the benefits of the LLC, and also just so we could figure out if the maintenance was, what was the maintenance costing. We had a generally good idea, but it was just really hard because the property, the ownership of the property has its own expenses and fees that have nothing to do with maintenance.
Yeah.
And then maintenance has the same problem. So we spun the maintenance company off. So you and Blake have been killing yourselves for the last 2 years trying to make the maintenance company run smoothly. And we just hired a great manager, Floor, and she seems to be working out. Blake have been training her for the last month or 2.
Yeah. So she's a remote team member. So she is actually based in El Salvador. Is that right?
Yeah, in Central America.
Yeah. So she's been killing it. But yeah, we've been trying to make this maintenance company work. And like Barrett talked about, there's different companies here, and he always says make them play nice together, and that couldn't be closer to the truth because there's so many ins and outs. There's a lot of crossover. So basically, we need to set up kind of partitions between them. And that kind of bleeds over into the maintenance too. I mean, we have a guy over here fixing a dishwasher, for instance, and then we have a commercial property that's needing some serious work or something looked at. So, I mean, the maintenance company is not an easy task whatsoever, especially if we got a lot going on.
What we didn't realize we were doing when we created all these companies all related to real estate is we were backing into a master's in business,
Yes,
an MBA,
yeah.
and that's the worst way to do it.
Yeah,
I did think, I was like, I wish one of us would just do night class and get your MBA, so that we could learn about accounting, business structures, how to handle payroll, employees, all these things that are probably like first semester of business school.
Yeah.
And we were going to these conventions and just learning it piecemeal. And we probably could have saved ourselves a lot of headache at the beginning.
Yeah.
And probably saved a lot of money at the beginning.
Yeah.
But it's just, one of the things I always say constantly is let's not reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
real estate's the oldest industry there is. People have always needed to eat and find shelter, and we're the shelter. So like, why are we acting like all these problems haven't already been solved 10 different ways?
Yeah.
So we're sitting here beating our head against the wall. How do you solve this problem? I was like, so that was why we started going to those conventions, and NARPM literally changed our company overnight. The biggest thing was hiring somebody just to answer our leasing calls.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, because that was your first big pain point. Your phone was ringing so much you couldn't do your job.
Yeah, and that was really we hired the leasing agents, but also that's why we hired Gyra essentially, because I was answering all these calls and I couldn't. We always try to keep like lease renewals going, make sure that people have a lease that they can look at that's in date and say, okay, this applies to me because the dates and so forth. And we hired Gyra to do renewals just because I didn't have time to do it. And that's after we did the leasing agents. So the leasing agents are amazing. They're really good. They refer to our website. They can answer questions, give you
So what
insurance.
are the 3 common questions we always got when someone called wanting to just generally called our real estate company?
Do you have anything to rent? Let me see. Do you have anything to rent?
Do you have anything to rent? Do you allow pets?
Do you allow pets?
Do you accept HUD?
That's a big one. Do you accept HUD is another one. I would say accept HUD was a big one. But the pets one, we're really the only people that allow pets.
And I'm still not convinced it's a good idea to allow pets. Mm-hmm. We do require a upfront non-refundable pet deposit, but one pet left unchecked can destroy an apartment.
Yeah, I mean, we both have pets. We know. I mean, they do damage. They do, even if they're the best pet ever. They'll scratch a floor or they'll do something. So
you can't go by one of our apartments and the blinds aren't just messed up because
it
animals.
happens. Yeah, it happens.
At my house too. I
Yeah.
have some cats and they love just getting up on the window and they mess the blinds up.
Yeah. I have a son too. Does the same thing.
I didn't know that was
Crosses
a thing.
over. Crosses over.
So, but those 3 questions we would get so often, it was so easy for us to write a script for the people
Yes.
answering our calls.
Yes.
You know, the worst is when I put a sign up in front of the yard, because that's probably you get probably the worst candidates to rent from you is unfortunately the people that are just driving around. I don't know why that is, but when I put a sign in the yard, I felt like the bomb went off because my phone would ring so much.
Yeah.
But now those days are gone. We don't put any signs up anymore in the yards. Everything's online. Our management software, as soon as we have an apartment that's been cleaned and ready to rent, Tom, you click post. It goes on our website and 40 other websites.
Yeah.
Instantly. And
Yes.
we still get those 150 calls a day, but we manage them a lot better now. We have employees that do that, and they have a really tight script. And
I mean, that's one thing that I feel like if we didn't have the software and the leasing agents and all this tech and teams to lean on, I mean, we'd have to have an army for this thing. I mean,
well, imagine what they did before AI
Yeah.
and you outsourcing some of the stuff to other countries. Could you even call El Salvador 20 years ago?
it'll cost you a lot of money, I'm sure.
Yeah, and you and Blake talked to Flora in El Salvador for an hour every morning.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So it's we definitely are using those to our advantage, and I don't think we're resting on our laurels either, especially Barrett. You're a chat GPT guy, aren't you? So
I'm big.
I've not delved into that too much, but
It's incredible what AI is doing right now. This sign was created by AI. Yeah, it was incredible. This company called Looka, Looka. They wanted some general ideas about what we needed the sign for. I was like, well, I'm doing a property podcast called PropertyTales Podcast. I used ChatGPT to even make the name. I was like, help me brainstorm some names for the podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, give me 10 names. Okay, now give me 10 more. Okay, now give me 10 more.
Wow.
And it was just something different every time. And secretly, the reason I like PropertyTales so much is because it reminds me of DuckTales.
we're simple. we're simple men at heart.
So I was like, I love DuckTales growing up. So I was like, yeah, it kind of sounds like that. So I'm going to go with it. So I put this in the AI called Looka. The name, I chose some colors. and it popped out like 60 different choices.
Yeah, we got kind of Freeman Brothers shade of blue there. And
Yeah,
I know you like the gold.
Unfortunately, I love gold.
Yeah, who doesn't? Yeah.
Well, some people think it's maybe corny or lame, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I am what I am.
I was thinking Austin Powers gold member. Gold.
Yeah. So, but the sign came out great.
Yeah, looks
And
awesome.
not only that, so I'm even embarrassed to say how much we paid a graphic designer last year for. We did an update of our marketing. New pictures, new graphic designs. We did a billboard, business cards. We paid thousands of dollars to this girl who she knocked it out of the park, did a great job. We're still using all that stuff today, and we still have a bunch of stuff we've not even used yet because we'll do a refresh, beginning of next year with that stuff to keep it looking good and fresh and modern. So she did a great job. We paid thousands of dollars. This thing did the exact same thing she did in 5 seconds for free.
Yeah,
So that's, it's a roundabout way of saying that AI is changing everything.
yeah, and that's just kind of the surface as well.
Yeah, and then a lot of our Facebook posts, we use AI to generate quick things. I'll make some tweaks to it, but it does a lot of the heavy lifting. And our listings with our real estate sales, a lot of that, ChatGPT, we put in, we need a listing. It pops up, sound really quick, and then we, make our tweaks, and then we post it. It does the work of 10 men,
Yeah,
10 people.
yeah.
There I
Yeah.
go, being
There we go.
sexist again.
But that's what I was saying. I mean, that if we didn't have the technology that we're kind of leaning on now, and the software, it would take a lot of people and a lot of time and a lot of effort to get things done. And
We've
Barrett's
definitely
kind of the forefront of
we've
that.
definitely modernized the companies
Yes.
drastically in the last 2 or 3 years. My dad, when we started managing his properties, he was doing pen and paper. So we've gone from pen and paper to now, heavily relying on AI, which I think all companies are now.
Yeah.
And they should be if they're not. If you guys ever have any questions about that, shoot us a comment. I'm happy to talk to you guys about all that. Because a lot of it's free. ChatGPT is free. Looka's free up to a point. There's no reason people aren't using this, no matter what your job is. So, but anyway, you are working all the time, but what does a day look like for you?
Whew. Whenever people ask me, kind of to preface it a little bit, ask me what I do, I either say I'm in real estate, or I'm a problem solver, because essentially that's what we do. And that's one of the parts why I love this job so much, is because every day there's a new problem, or there's something else that needs to be solved, or there's something else that needs to get better that we're still trying to refine. So whenever anyone kind of asks, hey, what do you do day to day, it's kind of difficult to give a scope of it. But I definitely try to keep my finger on the pulse as far as the property management stuff. Obviously, that's the bread and butter. But yeah, like we added the realty company this year. So that was a whole new ball game that we needed to get into. I'm obviously a real estate agent, and we worked under a brokerage prior, before Barrett got his broker's license. But
Got my broker's license.
yeah, there we go. And so
Did you get my text earlier?
my
My scores.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, I think I did really well on that broker's exam, but I didn't want to embellish. I was like, I think I got like a 91, because I remember walking out of there and I was so happy, A, that I passed, 'cause it's a very hard test.
Yes.
And 2, I don't think I missed that many questions, but I couldn't remember. It'd been 10, 11 months ago. So I was like, I have to find it. I don't want to I don't want to keep guessing on what I did, and also don't want to lie when I tell people, like, I did really well on my broker's exam. I couldn't find it in our text. I called, I texted everyone that I would have celebrated with. I'm like, hey, did I text you my score? Everybody's like, no, didn't.
Yeah.
You did, and I looked back. Finally found it. I had a folder with my real estate documents. It was in there. I should look there first. But I got an 85% on it. You needed a 75 to pass. So I did do really well.
Some room, yeah.
But I didn't get the 91% that I had in my head that my ego was telling me.
Should never have looked for it.
No, I mean, it would suck if I was telling everybody, oh, I got an A, basically. I got a 91.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't true, but it is a hard test, and
Yeah.
I'm very proud of that 85%. But anyway, I finally found it, and I was like, I'm not losing it again. So I took a
Texted
picture
us.
and I texted it to you and Blake.
Yeah. If it's in our group, it's not going anywhere. Yeah.
So
It's-
anyway,
yeah.
sorry, I interrupted you. But.
What was I saying? So, we introduced the realty side. So that was something that we kind of, again, this time we knew we were launching a company, so it was a little bit different, but there's
Went a lot smoother.
we learned a lot of lessons over the last few years, but still learning them and won't stop learning them. But
Yeah. So part of your day too is I'm afraid to write checks because you're the one that you're watching all the companies. All the companies are laid out in front of you, and they're all spread it. They're all sending money here, paying for this. So we have our property, our real estate, our maintenance company. The only client our maintenance company has is our properties and then the properties we manage. So you got to make sure the maintenance company is not costing so much that these companies are running out of cash by the end of the month. And then we've got the real estate sales and management, but the sales doesn't cost anything, which is nice. But I'm afraid to write any checks. So you've got all the companies in front of you. So even though you're not doing sales, you're the one paying the agents.
Yes.
And so I'm afraid to ever pay the agents because you're also keeping an eye on the realty company to make sure it does have some expenses, but I'm just afraid I'm going to make our account negative if I ever write a check. So I either make you write the checks or I text you before I write a check. I'm like, do we have money in the account? I've got access to the accounts, but you have your finger on the pulse of what's coming out tomorrow, what's coming out next week.
Yeah. And that's really what I do day to day. Again, we go back to the make the companies play nice. I mean, that's essentially my job now.
You think it'd be hard, or if you think it'd be easy, all the money's kind of in one pot.
Yeah.
But it's not easy.
It might be easier for someone smarter than me, but it's definitely not easy.
Well, we've got
for me
buddies
at
that
least.
own big companies, and we know accounting's everything. The
Yeah.
money is everything. That's
Yeah.
what we're doing all day is we're trying to make money.
Mm-hmm.
People forget that sometimes in the day-to-day bustle of business, but we're killing ourselves every day to make money.
Yeah.
And if you're not watching your money, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And so but I say that to say that we have buddies that have huge companies, and the biggest complaint is accounting
Yeah.
and money.
Yeah.
And are we making money? Do we know? I don't. Sometimes you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's why we spun off the maintenance. We weren't sure what was going on was the maintenance killing the property companies? Was it making us money? Right now, we've gotten to the point with the maintenance company that a year, 2 years in,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we're just now getting to where
Year and a
we
half.
figured out billing.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's good for the other companies because all those bills are going funneled through that one company. So it's definitely easier on that side of things, but and it's easier to see, hey, where's our money going? Like, is it going on fixing appliances, replacing appliances, or is it going on mowing and landscaping? And
There's so much money pouring out of the property
yeah,
companies
yeah.
that it made sense at the time to spin off the maintenance. We went to the property conventions, they're in Vegas, wherever they were, and everybody warned us about how tough it would be to do a maintenance company.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they said you're pulling your hair out thinking, all right, if it costs us $30 an hour to do the job,
Yeah.
and you bill $40 an hour, you make money.
Yeah, on paper it looks great.
It doesn't work.
No,
No,
we battled 2 years to make the paper make sense, and it doesn't. Although I will say, we go to these conventions every year, maybe a couple of times a year, and half the people there will say, "Oh, maintenance makes me way more money than the rentals do," and then the other half say, "No, I had to stop; it was costing too much." And I think we're on the latter side, at least for right now. I'm hoping we kind of grow organically into the third-party market, and that's always obviously the goal.
well, we basically said we're not going to do any more third-party jobs. We're busy enough with our properties and the properties we manage, so we're lucky there. But we'd hired a few guys to address the third-party market, and we just couldn't make money on the projects.
No, and
I'll tell you why. You know why we couldn't? Our guys would do a B-plus job. They would say, "Okay, we're done," and then the person that we're doing the job for would be like, "Well, we come back and fix this, this, and this," and then so that we'd made a profit on the time we were there, and then we have to go back, and that just ate up our profit every time.
And that's, I mean, and owning property is not fun. I mean, even as a homeowner, you get a bill to do something at your house, and it's just like, man, that's expensive. So I told my wife, I was like, if I had to do a do-over, I'd probably just rent for the rest of my life, honestly.
It's attractive.
Yeah, it is attractive because you get kind of the landlord to you always have that to report to if you have maintenance issues, and we make that very easy.
Well, you forget that not all property companies are created equal.
Yeah,
You
that is
really
true.
roll the dice
Yeah.
with a landlord. You hope that landlord will stay on maintenance and be responsive and be fair, understand their responsibilities, understand the law. But unfortunately, that's just not the case 9 out of 10 times.
Yes. Yeah.
And I know that's not the case because I get 2 or 3 calls a week at my law practice. A tenant's mad at their landlord, and the landlord is doing something illegal,
Yes.
not because not out of malice, but just out of ignorance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hate that, and I hate it for the tenant, and I hate it for the landlord, because no landlord wants an angry tenant. They want to provide a good service.
Sure.
But maybe there's a genuine misunderstanding of what their responsibilities are, or maybe the tenant is asking for something that the landlord doesn't. There's all kinds of issues.
Yeah.
So we have a perfect understanding of the law, of our responsibilities, and even then, we always are the ones that will spend the money, and we're the ones that will eat whatever cost to keep the tenant happy, because ultimately, we've made that decision that we're going to spend a little bit more money on our maintenance, on our service, because we think it's better, big picture. But I don't know if it is or not. But we've made that decision that we're going to spend that money, and we're going to be the best responsive maintenance, of any real estate company in the world. But that's our decision. Most landlords don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially around in like areas such as this, you have a lot of private landlords that really it's not very governed as
No.
far as
It's the Wild
what
West
they
out here.
can and can't do.
We go to these property conventions, and the people from like California, Oregon,
Yeah.
they're handcuffed so much by
Yeah.
restrictions and laws. It's very tenant friendly out west. Fortunately, in Kentucky, it's very landlord friendly. But we don't take that for granted. I mean, we try to be the best we can.
Yeah.
But
And I feel like we get mostly positive. I might be head buried in the sand there, but I'd hope that people had some good stuff to say about us.
of course, we get complaints about how
Sure.
much rent is, but not often. And I think people see like, wow, they're really quick. When I get a work order in, they're there the same day or
Yeah.
at the next day at the very earliest if it's not an emergency.
Yeah, the old adage, you kind of pay for what you get, definitely applies in real estate. I mean,
But
across the board.
as a roundabout way of saying, it's like not all landlords create equal.
Yeah.
You might rent and just have a horrible relationship with your
Yep.
landlord, or have a bad landlord, and generally you're locked in for a year
Yeah.
on a lease. Even if and also moving's very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
What are you gonna do? You're not happy with your landlord. You're gonna spend $3,000 moving.
Yeah.
Paying another month rent, paying deposit, paying to move. A lot of people can't do that, so you're just kind of stuck dealing with a terrible situation.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of options.
Mm-mm.
So,
No.
and we're lucky. We rarely evict people. We try to work with them. I mean, how many times do you think a year are you in eviction court?
Maybe 6, and we bend over back. I mean, no one wants to be there. The judge doesn't want to be there.
No.
The tenant doesn't want to be there. I definitely don't want to be there. And they always put it on a Monday morning too, so it's like just the worst start to the week. We don't wake up in the morning wanting to get rid of people and
It's
remove them
expensive
from
to.
their home.
We save money trying to work through the
For sure.
situation.
Yeah.
Because the person's gonna have to move.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they can't afford it because they can't afford rent.
Yeah.
So worst case scenario is they leave all their stuff. We've had that happen many times.
Mm-hmm.
We evict people, they leave all their stuff. It costs us $3,000 or $4,000 just to get their stuff out. I'm sitting there crying because I'm throwing away someone's high school yearbook.
Yeah, and a lot of the time
diplomas.
it's just because they didn't communicate to us. If you communicate, I mean, communication's so important in every aspect, but this certainly, because there's been times when we've had to do an eviction and I get there and they're like, well, this happened and this happened, and I was like, you should have told us. Like, we make it so easy to contact us, so you just have to and we'll work with you to a point, But like you said, we're also trying to run a business here, and that's very hard when you're having to kind of prop people up a lot of the time.
I hate when I hear, there's two phrases that get my blood boiling. The first one is, it's all about the money, isn't it?
Yeah.
I hear that from renters sometimes, especially when we're forced to evict. And I mean, I don't know if the expectation is that they get to live there forever for free. Surely they don't think that can be something sustainable. And then, the second one is, well, you didn't do this or you didn't do that. And so because of that, we don't take calls from tenants anymore.
Yes.
Every message is through text, through our software.
Yeah.
So that they can't come to the judge and say, well, they didn't fix this leak.
He said, she said. Yes.
Yeah. And so that was a big problem early on when we were doing it caveman style.
And I've heard a lot of people say, well, we just need to speak. We'd like to speak to someone in your office and this and that, which is great. I mean, we have open communications, but the reason why we do the email and text is because everything's written down and we can refer to it.
It protects everyone.
Yeah.
It doesn't just protect us. I tell people when they ask why we do a written lease, it protects us, protects you. I can't in 6 months just decide I'm going to raise rent $100. I got a call last week from somebody that said my landlord just raised our rent $100 a month. And I was like, well, do you have a written lease? Like, no, we're month to month. I was like, they can do that.
Yeah.
I was like, you should insist on a written lease, not just for you, but for landlords, so there's no argument over what you agreed to.
Yeah.
They called because they said, okay, we'll pay the extra $100. It's still cheaper than moving. 3 months later, the landlord calls, said I have to raise it another $100.
Oh no.
And they're like, can they do that?
Yeah.
I was like, yes. Unfortunately, if you're month to month.
Yeah.
I was like, you can leave, but.
So the Laurel County evictions, if you don't have a written lease, it's 30-day. But like a duck in there somewhere.
A duck?
Yeah.
Why? Oh, just goes to
DuckTales.
I've not told anyone that.
Well, you've told a lot of people now.
So lucky.
All 217 subscribers I saw.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. 217.
One thing I didn't say is like and subscribe, but it would do us a huge favor if you liked and subscribed. We're trying to grow this podcast because people aren't going to do business with you if they don't know you exist. So, and I have a lot of canned business advice that I use all the time. But the one is all business is sales.
Yeah.
And I say it all the time. I've said it in multiple podcasts. People don't know you're there. How can they do business with you?
Yeah.
So, what were we talking about before I rudely interrupted us?
You were going to talk about the
the reason why we're even doing this podcast.
Yes. Yeah.
So, the reason I'm doing this podcast is because you and I are having these conversations all day, every day. We're always trying to improve our understanding of the business, of the processes.
Yeah.
Make sure that we're not doing anything dumb, which we're doing dumb stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But I think that these are valuable conversations. I think there's value in it for people watching, not just if you're in a property business, but just business in general. I mean, the number one thing is accounting. Number two is organization. And under organization, it's policies and procedures.
Yes. Yeah. For sure.
One of our biggest changes was writing down our processes.
Yes.
You can definitely tell somebody, okay, this is how I do something, but can you do a step by step? Can you write it down? Can you say this is the first thing, this is the second thing, and then you do a flow chart where if this happens and do this, if this happens do that. Obviously, that makes sense in your head.
Yeah.
But it's way harder to write down.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember when we were in Vegas at that property convention, and everybody kept saying, okay, you got to write process down,
Yeah.
I was like, I agree, I really want to, but I was
Yeah.
like, I don't even know where to start.
It's a hard thing because you just think in your head, it's like, you know how it goes, but to communicate that and write that down is something different. I mean, if all three of us or two of us died tomorrow, the other one would be a long process to recover everything, and we try to share as much between our message group as far as kind of what we do day to day and whatnot, but there's so much. If you have a process in your head and you think it works really well for your business, definitely write it down and keep it to where the person that is coming in,
it's dummy proof.
yeah, it's dummy proof. I mean, work yourself out of a job. I mean, move on and create the next process, which is going to kind of boost your business.
If I died today, you don't know how to make a Facebook post for the company.
No, I'm not a big social media person.
You're not you
personally.
couldn't. You're not an
Yeah.
admin for one.
Yeah.
And two, you don't have access to the pictures and the videos
Yeah.
and my chat GPT AI that I use.
Yeah,
Blake
I'd
doesn't
be
either.
lost. Yeah, we probably
Unfortunately.
need to address that.
Unfortunately, I just see there's always something. And we'll go to our next property convention, and I'm sure the big hot topic's going to be AI and how to use it better.
I mean, they've already started it. That last one, I mean, there was so many AI classes, and the keynote speaker was talking about if you're not getting into the AI game, you're getting left behind. You were probably already left behind.
Yeah, AI really hit the scene for us in January of this year, and now if I have a problem, I Google, is there an AI tool for this?
Yes.
100% every time is a yes.
Yeah.
It might not be great, but have you seen what AI is doing with pictures and video?
Yes, I actually have a friend who sent me, I'll show you after the podcast, but he sent me a video. He recorded himself just sitting talking in his office, and he within an hour he essentially changed the whole backdrop. It looked completely real. I mean, there was sun rays hitting him, there were shadows all in the right places, and it was completely AI generated.
That's incredible.
And like when he leant forward, the shadow fall. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, it really was. So I have to show you that. That was.
Do you know what AI he was using for that?
I do not. I can ask him.
I downloaded this AI that you upload a picture into it, and it creates a 3-second video where it makes the person move. They turn sideways, or they do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You tell them turn sideways, raise your arms, and it makes it look like from the picture the person's doing what you asked.
That's gonna get a lot of people in trouble.
Well, there's a Netflix show called Deepfake
Yeah.
that just came out, and they basically are taking someone's boyfriend or girlfriend and using a deep fake to put them like they're cheating.
Oh,
And so the partner, which is horrifying, has to watch the clip and say, is that real or is that a deep
Gosh,
fake?
that is horrifiing. What a horrible show to go on.
And I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
But Netflix is pushing it.
I'm not going to watch the second season.
Definitely not the third. I'm not a monster. So, but yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Have you played around with that at all, or you have?
all the time.
Yeah.
I'm because I do the social media, the podcast, so I'm always looking for ways to raise the quality of our content, whether you make the picture more interesting. So Melissa, who was on the podcast last week, she we do a lot of pictures, a lot of videos of her, but so I'm always uploading her pictures to these different AIs and seeing, is this something that I can take one picture and really get a lot of content out of it, not just take the picture, put it on Facebook, okay, it's done. If someone sees that later, they're not going to pay attention to it because they've seen the picture already. So there's all kinds of AIs that you can just upload a picture.
And that's kind of what the debate in Hollywood is right now.
Yeah, the
AI
writer's
using-
strike.
Yeah.
So and they've got a good point.
Yeah.
You're going to just take a picture of an actor, someone off the street, pay them $100, take a picture, and they're going to be in a background.
Lifetime. Yeah.
They're going to be a background person forever. It's
Yeah.
just going to be the 3D model of them.
Wow.
Or what? 3D model is probably not the right word, but just an AI version of them in the background forever. And they paid a guy $100 that really needed it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Save a lot of money. I'm for these companies saving money. I don't know where I stand on the writer strike. Generally, I want writers to make more money because I know the studios are making a lot of money. But that's a whole other industry that we know nothing about.
I've got my sign right here.
So, but the next convention we go to, I guarantee we're going to learn 10 new AIs that we need to be using every single day.
And we always go to these, even technology aside, we go to these and learn so many things. We have to just take 3 and just kind of go with those, because otherwise it's just, you can't implement 5 great things, perfect things, but you can implement 3 great things and do them properly.
Over 6 months.
Over 6 months, yes. Yeah, over 6 months. I'm obviously talking about the term of the, I should have mentioned that, the term of when we visit these conferences is every 6 months. So we take 2 or 3 things, try and implement them, refine them, and then by the 6 months later we're at another conference and they've already made it better. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice
is great.
because we have our friends at these conventions now, so we're always eager to hear how their changes worked out. We're always eager to share how our changes worked out, what worked, what didn't.
Yeah.
That's really how it gives your company growth rocket fuel.
Yeah.
Information sharing. How'd you solve this problem? Here's how we solved the problem. It's funny that Blake and I were always felt a little bit of a fish out of water because at these conventions that we go to, it's about property management. It's not about
Yes.
owning property.
Yes.
That's a whole different.
And you have to filter when we go to these. We always, you do have to filter a lot of the stuff because they're property management driven as far as making money for the property management company, and of course we are too. But we're also on the owner side. So so when investors or owners come to us, I mean, we have that experience. We know what it takes to be an owner, and we know what it takes to be a property management company. So we're kind of at a hybrid there, and I think that's kind of what sets us apart.
Well, we're trying to be a one-stop property shop.
Yeah,
That rhymes. I didn't realize that till just
you
now.
did, yeah.
If you have a property service that you need, we want to meet it.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many ways to tackle real estate as well. That's a big ask.
Yes.
But we own it, we manage it, and we manage others. We sell real estate, as a brokerage. We have a professional maintenance company.
Mm-hmm. And everything in between.
Everything in between.
I mean, we're always, even if an owner comes, there's been owners that come into the office here in Corbin, and a lot of the times they'll just have questions, and it's always fun to talk shop, and it's always good to talk shop because even though you think, okay, we've got a bigger and better setup, they might always have something that we've never really thought about. So I try and I think we all do a good job of talking to as many people as we can.
Like you said, even if we feel like we're a bigger, better system, everyone does every little thing a little bit differently.
Yes.
I was talking to this guy that does it he's an older guy, does it very old school, but he had this really good idea during Thanksgiving. He provides turkeys to his tenants.
Yeah.
And he says he starts buying them like a month before, just a bunch of frozen turkeys. He only has like 60 doors, so it's a little bit easier for him. But I thought that was a really nice thing for him to do.
We'd have to start a turkey farm if we did that.
I know.
I mean, I'm not against it.
I'm not against it either.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in doing that because it would be very expensive and time consuming. And I don't know if most people have ever tried to offer a service where you have to meet someone while they're home.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
They're
that's
never
half
home.
the battle.
I sent a gift today to you and Blake. When we need to get into a unit, and it's Max McConaughey saying, "I start drinking at noon, and I do that for the rest of the day, and you're not interrupting that." It's just, even if a lot of tenants insist they be there, which is fine.
Yeah.
But then when we knock on the door, they won't come to the door. So. Not complaining, but I couldn't imagine doing something out of the kindness of my heart and also it being a nightmare to execute.
Yeah, we actually have to set up some viewings tomorrow for an appraiser, and I guess we just got a good bunch of tenants because everyone kind of volunteered for it. So maybe the turkeys aren't as far as you think they are.
I'm not going to do it. It's just too big of a project.
Turkey slices through the mailbox.
That's literally the only thing that would work.
There we go. Problem solved. Next problem.
Well, I think that's our time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
This has been Property Tales Podcast. Please like and subscribe, and thanks for joining us. See ya.
Where do we go from